Five-shot final, J. Sam Jones from the Mothership and Dirty South Soccer. Joe Patrick, 90.9 The Game, and Dirty South Soccer is over there. Joe, if Cubo starts about, or if Cubo even gets in the game about 40 or 50 more times, I'm gonna be mad.
Man, it is a struggle to watch him out there. It's like it would be one thing if he could move around, but like that's what sticks with me is like you see him. There was one time where there was kind of a rebound he was trying to chase down, and he just had no chance to get there over several. Pick your defender from the other team. Like there was just he just can't really move around that well. It's frustrating.
It's interesting choices all around. Kurt Castle on the intro there with his song Chances, which I can't believe we picked a song called Chances in a season where they're going to create like three chances the entire time. There are going to be more chances on Five Stripe Final than with Atlanta United. That's the new bit. Everyone enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
We're guaranteed for
well,
one chance a game
look at that. Look at that.
as
Well,
opposed to the point
listen,
five.
listen. I wanna let's therapize a little bit. Let's wrestle with some fears here
Okay.
because Atlanta United goes into Philadelphia and plays fine. Plays fine. It was not spectacular by any means. They lacked urgency, it seemed at times, for a team that was down 3-0. I am worried we are already to the point where these shows are going to start sounding very, very similar over and over again as we point to a singular problem,
Mm-hmm.
which is that the talent simply is not there right now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that might be the whole show for the next
Right.
3 months.
I know it is terrifying. It is terrifying to think about from a podcaster's perspective, at least, that might have to come on and try to
Who
try
will think of
try
the
to be cheeky and
podcasters?
pissy about the same exact problem, which is that this team has no wingers. Yeah, I mean it's so it's interesting. I'm trying to thread the needle between not I'm not like necessarily trying to be optimistic about the team, but I am trying to really assess where there are legitimate good points in what they're doing, but also be fair and in criticism and point out where they're falling short. And right now, I do think that the way this team is kind of building up and playing in its own third and in the middle third of the field is as good of stuff that we've seen from Atlanta United, basically in its history. But it's like when that ball moves into the final third, I have no confidence that they're going to score because there's just no dynamism. There's not really ideas. Their players clearly don't look to be on the same page with one another. And to your point, what you said is that there just doesn't seem to be that kind of talent on the field, like the playmaker who's going to make stuff happen, and that's kind of, I think, the most demoralizing part of it all.
Yeah, it's exactly right. The system is working, right? Like the system is there. You can see the building blocks. You can see how those all coalesce to form something that is entertaining, something that should be producing results. But it goes back to something that we talked about at the start of the year and something I remember asking Carlos Bocanegra. Again, there's only one real starter who's ever scored more than 4 goals at the first division level,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he
Mm-hmm.
told me, well, the system is going to create these goals, right? That was his response to that problem. And that was not correct so far.
Yeah.
So far, I'm not going to
So
say it
far.
was
Yeah. Yeah. You're
entirely not correct, but that is not correct so far.
mm-hmm.
It's not.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. That's frustrating. That's frustrating. It's tough to reckon with the optimism and the pessimism kind of colliding together on the freeway at 80 miles an hour all at once right here. And it's not like last night was bad. I'm not saying last night was bad, which I feel like I keep doing this,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I'm not saying last night was bad over and over again. But when the flaws are as clear as they are, you don't really need to wrestle with anything else because it's there. It's
Right.
right in front of you.
Right. Like I think if you were to compare tape, which I've not done, but if you were like to directly compare, like on two monitors or whatever, the game what we saw last night, for example, versus a game from early in the Frank DeBoer tenure, I think you would see a legitimate difference in that this team is playing better. Like they play better across the field, but I think one of the differences you would see is there is just a different level of, I think with a healthy Joseph Martinez at that point in time, like you were at least still seeing some crosses get in, some chances being created just through Joseph's ability alone, if nothing else. And
Mhm.
right now with this team, when you don't have the same player in Joseph Martinez right now, I don't know if he will ever be the same player that he once was. We'll see. I'm not saying that he wouldn't be. It's just not the player he is now. Combined with just not some of the other players that quality, it's just there's the same kind of impotency in the attack with both sides, even though that this team might play better on the field. And at the end of the day, it's like you play this game to score goals and win games. And if you're not doing that, it doesn't really matter all that much as to what you're doing in the first few thirds or the first couple thirds of the field. And that's what I think fans are starting to get kind of pretty frustrated with. And I'm with them as well. It's just like, it's frustrating to watch your team play and play and play, and then not really ever having faith that they're going to do much exciting in that final third.
All right, well, we have a lot to get to here with this one. A couple housekeeping things real quick. We got a show with Doug Roberson going up for patrons later today. Whole lot to get to, whole lot to get to. So we might as well go to business time. Business time. Joe Patrick again. Atlanta United knocked out of Champions League, losing 4-1 on aggregate to the Philadelphia Union, who were simply better. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of those things that I think adds to the frustration is that when you look at a team like Philadelphia and you kind of compare resources to Atlanta and everything like that, and you see, man, it's just as basic as seeing the speed. When Philadelphia's guys took off in transition, it was as simple as going, holy crap, those guys
Mm-hmm.
are way faster than us. Like all of them, it seemed like, and they were missing a couple of things. They were missing, of course, Jose Martinez. They shifted Leon Flock down to the base of their diamond. He still looked excellent. It's crazy how often they're hitting on guys like Kasper Przybyłko from the Polish first division or whatever, right?
Yeah.
He's coming
Yeah.
in and making an impact and everything like that. All those guys are working together and have the talent and the ability to do things. And when you compare it to what we have, it just doesn't seem the same. And that's Philadelphia, who, to be fair, Ernst Tanner and them have built something pretty incredible and pretty out of the norm for MLS. But your standards for Atlanta United that have been set, by the same front office, lead to compared with
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia. It seems like that. Really, the comparison should be LAFC, right, or
Mm-hmm.
Seattle,
Yep.
and the
Sure.
not Philadelphia.
Right.
So
Right.
that's one of those things where you're like instantly, okay, what's up here? This is strange, and maybe that's part of the frustration as well. They were just better.
I mentioned during the game that I really do enjoy watching the Philadelphia Union and Jim Curtin's
Mm-hmm.
teams play. Like I do think that the 4-1-2-1-2, that diamond midfield, in my opinion, that's like the best formation. Like I know that that's like a very crude way to say it, but I really do think that shape is the best way to um basically just like to use space all across the field in a variety of ways. And so I respect that about them, and you could see it on the field. They were always able to pressure Atlanta when Atlanta needed to be pressured, but also kind of safe-ish, keeping themselves defensively. So
Yeah.
I really enjoy watching them play. But you're right. I mean, like Atlanta United has ambitions to not just be as good as the Philadelphia Union, but to be a clearly better team than the Philadelphia Union. And so they're not there yet, but that's the way it goes, I guess. Did you see what happened with Gabriel Heinze and Jim Curtin, by the way? Because this was like a big talking point. I didn't see it after the game, and I don't know if we're going to get into this later, but I didn't see what
Yeah,
happened, but I was kind of catching up with some things after Jim Curtin spoke and things like that. It was kind of wild.
much like how this was dealt with as something that happened after the game. Let's hit this at the very end
Okay,
and
okay, okay.
maybe kind of get into it. You got dudes out there being dudes, and they get fired up about things,
Yeah.
and that's really most of the gist of it. We will kind of get into it a little bit.
We'll talk about that later. I do want to pick up on one thing you said though, which is about kind of Atlanta's pace on the field. I was thinking about it when you
Mhm.
said it. It's like I think that Atlanta, if you were to like all their fastest players that they had on the field last night are like are the back four. It's like the the four
Yes, what is
defenders are
that?
probably their fastest players on the field, which is not necessarily a terrible thing in this situation where
Mm-mm.
when you're pushing forward, you're going to be playing a game where you have to defend on the counter. Like that's just going to be how the style of the game is played. And so I think it did help. Like Miles Robinson, I thought was phenomenal last night, just chasing down players when he had to. That's what he's best at. That's what he's really good at. And so for that reason, it helps. But also, it's like you wish you had some more dynamism in the attack, some more pace in the attack to threaten the Union. But
Mm.
I do think that in general, the way the game played out was in large part due to the game state of when you're down 3-0, it's just very hard to. Um, it's very easy to say the team just needs to attack gung ho from the opening whistle, but Emerson Hyman said it last night after the game that you have to kind of pace yourself. You can't go full bore from the first whistle all the way through. You got to kind of increase your intensity over time in terms of just the amount of risk you're willing to take throughout the game. So it was just like one of those things, and I think they really lost this tie in the last 35 minutes of that first leg.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But it also seemed to an extent like maybe they were over thinking about pacing themselves. There were opportunities the entire night where it seemed like, okay, now they're going to hit transition. Now they're going to
Mm-hmm.
take off. Now they're going to do something that, it really looks like a team that is working to overcome a 3-0 deficit. And at times later in the game, it looked like it when it kicked in. And like you said, they did have to kind of pace themselves with it. But there were also times earlier in the game where it felt like that could have been it, where they could have had that sense of, okay, this is a blood in the water type moment. We're going to go and simply attack space. That's one of the weirdest things about all of this to me right now, is that even when players are getting into space and when there is space in front of them, this is probably the biggest kink in the system right now, where they will freeze. They
Yep.
will sit on the ball and see that they have space to take to maybe run at the back line, and the players around them will sit off the ball and see that there's maybe space behind and not do anything sometimes, right? But when they're on the ball, it's especially noticeable.
I think it's a lack of confidence. I feel like
Exactly.
I feel like the players individually don't feel like they have confidence that if they drive forward into those spots that their teammates are going to be in positions where they need to. And I also just think there's just a lack of confidence in general.
I will say that the player I'm thinking about in particular who had like a good 30 feet of space in front of at one point and didn't take it was Santiago Sosa. And if there's anyone who might be just a little bit disappointed with everyone around him right now, it's Santiago Sosa.
Oh my gosh, he was doing everything last night.
He's incredible. He really is. I tweeted out that, like, I'm still not sure how much of a bit this is, right? I said something to the effect of like, I think he's like legit a $20 million player, maybe. And I think people were largely agreeing with that. I look at things like, of course, his performance over this tie, but then you look at what Jim Curtin said before this tie, where he said, I think he's going to be the best signing in the league.
Mm,
It's like,
yeah,
oh, okay,
and and
sure.
and
You
you
haven't
look at
played him yet.
yeah, and you look at the way the New England Revolution played against Atlanta United over the weekend. I mean, clearly
Their
it
whole
was like their
focus.
tactic was like just shut him down. It's like
Mm-hmm.
cutting off the head of the snake or whatever. If you can cut off that supply, then it becomes very difficult for Atlanta United to do what they want to do. And so their play all kind of flows through him right now. And I find it really fun to watch. There was one time he made a mistake trying to make one of these passes, but I was loving sometimes he would make these like little one-touch passes to recycle possession, but he was also like chopping the ball so it had some spin on it and was putting just kind of to lead the ball in the right direction into some space for players. Just like those little things are really fun to watch a player execute on the field during an actual match.
Then, of course, he scores the goal in this one as well. It's an excellent turn. He does a little half turn, brings it down, and I think was maybe surprised to see as much space as he had, but he did attack
Yeah.
at that time. He felt good about it that time and said, "Screw it, let's go ahead and see what I can do." And put a really solid shot on goal. It bounced. It found the side netting just about. Beat Andre Blake, which is always a tough thing to do. That's a really impressive, I think, first professional goal for
Yeah.
Santiago Sosa.
Yep, first
What?
professional goal ever. And that came like minutes after he was like blocking shot. He like blocked a shot with his face,
face.
and then like immediately after that, just jumped in to block the rebound shot as well. Just an absolute all around performance from Sosa. It was kind of, I was laughing, but it's like really I was kind of laughing because it was so good. It's just exactly what you would hope to see from a player like that. And I think that Jim Curtin could be right. I think that he could be one of the best signings in the league. And it's just a shame that sometimes those kinds of players don't get valued the same way as other players do in the market. And when it comes to transfer prices, I think we're in for a shakeup in the market in general, due to some bubbling up that's happened, the frothiness of the market, so to speak. With I think that it'll be very interesting to see what happens this summer with all these Super League teams that have overspent for the last several years. And anyway, that's kind of getting off down a different on a tangent. But yeah, I mean, Santiago Sosa has been incredible. And the question just now is how long he's going to be around, honestly.
Exactly right. He'll be here through the summer.
For sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, this year he'll be here 100%.
So no one freak out about that, right? But next year, I don't know.
Honestly, I'd be pretty shocked, honestly, if Heinze would let him go as well, even next year. Like, I think he'll be here through Heinze, but
I would think so too. I would think so too. But he is 22. He's a little older than I think a lot of us kind of remember sometimes, which is crazy to me. It kind of shows how good, of course, River Plate's midfield was, that he wasn't able to really get the consistent playing time, because he's balling out right here, which is really, really heartening.
At least someone's balling out.
Exactly. At least somebody. There are dudes. They're just not in the attack right now. I still feel good about the back line.
Did you know Santiago Sosa's birthday was on Monday?
No.
I just
I didn't get him a card
he just turned
anything.
22. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Santi. All right. But down the spine, I feel good. Sosa walks was good again last night. Dude, I don't know. Are we going to talk about Alan Franco? Because we just spent a lot of money on a dude that feels a little redundant and hasn't been as good as Anton.
I know. That's the thing, is like, did we just spend money on a designated player where he's not even as good as, the current starters? It's tough. I think it's tough to assess Alan Franco fully yet. He's just it's been so short a space of time, and he's getting over COVID too. So who knows what kind of effects that has? I don't know.
I am laughing in particular at Matt Doyle's kind of jubilance at this signing potentially being bad. He keeps kind of talking about it on extra time and everything like that, about how he's just not been in position and everything like that. So enjoy it while you can, Matt. But yeah, no, it's been rough. It's a rough start for Alan Franco, I think.
But it's especially interesting because by all accounts, this is like a position that Gabriel Heinze was adamant on having. And that's why we saw this team go in for like 3 different center backs during this transfer window. So, but I don't know. I mean, clearly, I think Heinze realized that, he needed to be pulled off in that Revolution game. He came off at halftime, and then in this game, he could have been selected to start, but he was chosen not to. So I don't know. It'll be kind of interesting to see how he's able to kind of get bedded in with this team over the course of the season. And I still kind of wonder if 3 at the back is something that could happen with those 3 defenders. The only problem with having Walks, Miles Robinson, and Alan Franco all together at the back is none of them are really your classic distributors. Like none of them's a true passer like a Santiago Sosa is. So I don't know. That would be interesting to see if that ever happens, but it's a fight for playing time, I guess, and not a position that I don't know if in MLS you really want a ton of fighting for playing time at that position, So you want to kind of allocate your resources so that you're getting all of your talent on the field at the same time. And I think that that's the problem with this position right now.
Well, if you get a DP center back in MLS, right, there's only one of those right now off the top of my head. It's Walker Zimmerman. Right. And Walker Zimmerman is clearly a game-changing presence. He has led Nashville to places they probably really didn't expect to be in their first season, and have struggled a bit in the early goings here. But you want a DP center back to truly, truly change things, right? And it's going to be interesting if that doesn't happen. Right. We're not saying that's it yet. It is super early. Dude just got in. Dude hasn't had really any time to actually train with the team and everything like that. It's not quite the same as Anton, who was in the system from the jump. But is clearly outperforming any expectations we had for him. Is clearly a little more comfortable right now. That may not be the answer long term, but it's an interesting dilemma to have right now, especially when you're looking at the front of this Atlanta United
Right,
team
right.
and going, wait, crap, a DP winger would have been real nice.
Yeah, exactly. It's like with the Braves, the Braves are like, Braves fans are kind of pissed that the team now invested $11 million in Drew Smiley when you could have used that money somewhere else, and you have,
Yeah,
Oscar, coming up or whatever.
because
But
Oscar
like,
Noah is so good, right?
it's you want to kind of distribute your resources as best as you can throughout the team so that you're maximizing that value. And so, yeah, I don't know. And I also think that Anton is just more fit than Alan Franco at this point. Like I've heard people
Mm-hmm.
who are not familiar with Alan Franco, who have just seen him play these first couple of games, and they're like, "Man, this guy is slow as hell." Where that is not Alan Franco. Like Alan Franco is a speedy center back, but he has looked slow, especially in that second half against Philadelphia Union in the first leg. I think he was totally gassed and pushing way too high up the field, and he couldn't recover. I don't know if that has anything to do with COVID recovery or just the
Mm-hmm.
fact that he hadn't been playing, he had a period of not playing games for a long time. So you just lose some of that fitness. I'm not sure. But hopefully he can regain some of that.
Yeah, he said coming in that he felt fit. I mean, he had been playing, he had been training, everything like that. But I think you really need to treat COVID at this point like an injury. If you've had it,
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been Evan Turner in the NBA who said he's felt like he's been playing with concussion the last few weeks, everything like that. It is an amazing thing how much it affects so many things that we won't know about, right?
I
Like
mean,
he's not going to come out and be like, I am tired walking to the fridge.
yeah. I mean, well, I had it and I didn't really feel anything, but I'm not a professional athlete, so I don't know how it would have affected like performance at the very top end. But I would say that Emerson Hyman is a guy that we know had it last year, and he certainly to me looks like he has way more energy and
This
is
year.
just
Mhm.
moving around and playing much much better this year than he was last year. Of course, there are so many dynamics that play into it, and I almost feel bad speculating about like health issues like this, but I'm just trying to put pieces of evidence, data points together.
Speaking of health issues, we haven't even really gotten to this because we haven't even really discussed that there was a game on Saturday against New England that Atlanta also
Do
lost
we
in that one.
have
But
do we have to talk
we
about
don't
it?
have to really talk about it. They rotated a lot of people. It didn't quite work out. Right now,
Yeah, that was wild.
this is an Atlanta United team that right now is relying on individual moments of semi brilliance and brilliance to get them a single goal. You know, you have to have someone like Sosa turn and score a spectacular goal. You have to have Marcelino ruin Andrew by one time or whoever it was and get a penalty, right, to score a goal. You have to have this. You have to have Ezekiel Barco mess up a free kick and then bang one and fall on his
Yeah,
ass and
yeah,
score, right? Like those are the things that are creating goals right now, which is not encouraging. So there you go. There's your New England thing. We got a penalty. We didn't get anything else, and New England maybe got a little bit lucky. There you go. But big thing there: Ezekiel Barco injured, Jurgen Damm injured. Right. So two pieces to an attack that was already sputtering, now taken out of the equation, which Emerson reminded me of because Emerson kind of shifted into a more defensive role last night
mm-hmm.
and did a good job. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's done a good job defensively this year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. That's honestly been one of the big improvements for him. It's just like his activity defensively, his awareness, and honestly, again, kind of go back to the fitness. He just looks like he's moving around so much better and able to cover passing lanes and things like that.
Emerson Hyndman doing noticeable things. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
What a day. What a
But
day. And he also said too, I do want to point out, he also said too, he was acting as an outlet for any pressing and anything like that. That's something to kind of keep an eye on if Atlanta is ever in a scenario where they are getting pushed back or anything like that. Look and see if they're looking for Emerson
mm-hmm.
as an outlet. That's where he can be effective.
Yeah. To go back to those injuries that happened in the New England game, I mean, you hate to see it because those are two guys who are like your injury prone guys. Ezekiel Barco has battled his entire Atlanta United tenure with various injuries. Some of them have been more like knee and joint related as opposed to like soft tissue types of stuff. But Jurgen Damm is a guy who missed time last year with I want to say it was a hamstring. It was a pulled muscle of some sort. So you hate to see that kind of thing continue. And it doesn't give me good vibes. I guess that's my only takeaway. I don't know how much you can actually assess in injuries like these, but it's not good to see players who consistently have trouble with injury and to have this happen to them.
I'm going to bring up the stat. I know I bring up this stat a lot, but I'm going to bring it up again. Ezequiel Barco has started, I think it's 43 games out of a possible 94 in his Atlanta
Wow.
United career.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not good enough. Not good enough. You know, being healthy is a skill, all that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, there's another hole.
And it's
There's
tough.
another hole.
Yeah, like for him, he's a guy who's used to when he's playing, he's typically starting. And of course, when you come in as a sub, it's just a different. You got to warm up differently. You got to prepare your body differently. And I think that I can only wonder if that contributed to him, just not being used to that kind of routine and then coming into the game and that happening. But tough game.
Maybe
I
we
had a good
don't.
time. I was at a bar, so I wasn't really paying that close attention to the game, fortunately, and it was fun to like feel like real life again. So
Well,
that was
let's
cool.
talk. Let's talk about feeling good at a bar and like celebrating maybe the potential substitution of someone like Eric Lopez, or maybe even last night
Yes.
celebrating Eric Lopez being inserted into the lineup. I still think he offers more than Jurgen Damm. I don't think he offers enough to potentially be game changing, but I still think he offers more. That's my Lopez take. Elo.
Sure, that's fair. I mean, like obviously it's kind of a bit that everybody knows that I like him or whatever. But I think that like even though he was not perfect at all last night, he made some mistakes. But he was still involved in some things. Like he was involved in some combination play that I think you'll agree with me, Sam, that you just know that Jurgen Damm would not be participating in what's like he would be out on the wing, staying to himself out there. He would not be coming inside and trying to be creative and combining with other players where Eric Lopez is. And I think that he has tons of room to get better over the course of the season. He's not that dynamic player right now, but he still has a ton of potential.
There was one moment last night where Eric Lopez was involved with one of those combination plays, and it was one touch. It was quick. He was
Mm-hmm.
cutting in from the wing, and he was playing with Joseph. And it was almost like Joseph said, "All right, we gotta go. I'm sick of this, right?"
Yeah.
And when they played it, they played quickly and just didn't really have that last little touch to take them into the box. But it was the single most threatening move of the night from Atlanta. And again, I think you're right. I don't think you see Jurgen Damm make that kind of play.
Like I didn't think Eric Lopez was perfect, but I honestly didn't think he looked that much better or worse than Marcelino Moreno, who is a
We haven't even
designated
got to
player
talk about
on
Marcelino,
this
have
team.
we?
Is he a dude? Is he a dude? Do we
Man,
know?
last year we thought so.
I know. I
What
know.
I don't know what's changed, and it's weird to see him finally move centrally, right? Which is something we've been clamoring for a little bit, right? Like we just kind of assumed that he would be better at that because he was better at that
Mm-hmm.
last season, and he got in last night and was wholly ineffective. I don't know why. Were
Very
we just wrong? Were we
frustrating.
just like last year? We were just
we
like, oh man,
we were in a weird place last year
yeah.
mentally. Like we were like,
Mhm.
somebody give us hope. And we were
It's
we were
like
willing to cling on to anybody at that point.
it's like having a pitcher come in throwing 70 after all your other pitchers have been throwing 60, and you're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
he's throwing heat.
I
He's not.
mean, last night it was so frustrating because he would just lose the ball on like a heavy touch trying to like dribble upfield,
Yeah.
like really kind of clumsy errors at times. It wasn't all bad, but it was not what you want to see from a guy who's supposed to be your primary playmaker, the guy who's supposed to be setting up Joseph for goals. Honestly, it looked like to me, and it's looked like this for a couple games now, like Atlanta United's best chances happen when Joseph actually drops off the line to do some playmaking himself, and he has
Yeah.
runners that then go in front of him. Like, and I think that Joseph is a more technical player than Marcelino Moreno. That's how it looks to me when he gets on the ball. Joseph's willing to make those little one-touch passes, the little hold-up play. It's much more tidy than Marcelino Moreno. It looks like the ball is like bouncing off of him really hard.
Which leads to this, and this is the last thing I'll say before we head to your questions. But when Joseph is back to 100%, and no one else is, right? Right? Joseph's going to be real angry. And I don't know whether that pulls the team up or pulls the team down.
Well,
we'll see.
Yeah, I don't. It's interesting. I feel like Joseph himself. We talked about confidence, players on this team having confidence or not having it right now, and I think that Joseph's in that state where it's like he's still also trying to regain his confidence, and I think that he doesn't have some of those same leadership qualities in terms of like getting in somebody's ass for not doing the right thing or being good enough or whatever it is, that he would have if he's on full form and feeling really confident in himself. I don't know if he feels like he has that kind of authority to do that unless he's scoring goals, which he's not yet. I think he's close. I think he's getting there, just in terms of getting his first goal. But yeah, I think that I know that we're not used to saying that Joseph may lack confidence at all, but I think that right now he is kind of not this in the same exact headspace that we've seen him when he's obviously really firing on all cylinders.
All right, we'll find out what kind of headspace you guys were in just a second as we answer your questions after this quick break. Ah, what a break. What a break. What an incredible break. Joe, we've been complaining a lot. And so before we get to the listener questions, real quick, I want to offer the good people of Atlanta and elsewhere and Five Stripes Nation. We'll call it that.
Five Stripes.
Um, I hated myself as I said it. I did not like it. Shout out to the 17s.
You know what to do.
God damn it.
Five Stripes Nation.
This show is already too long. How do we fix it? If we had to just quickly be like, all right, I know that freaks you out. It's a big question. How do we fix it? How do we, if we are asking where are the dudes, can we, as Joe and J Sam, shine a light onto where the dudes might be? Can we lift the dirty mat and find the roaches of dudes underneath it, scrambling out and scurrying in the light or something? I don't know where I'm going with this. Please save me.
Well, I mean, I think you can improve yourself on the margins by using a guy like Jackson Conway instead of a guy like Kubo Torres, if coming in for a late game sub. I mean, I don't know if that's a controversial take or not, but I feel like Jackson Conway is at least going to be physically more capable, getting out there, running around, putting his body on the line. He's a technical player too. Like I think he's a quite a good finisher as well. I don't want to overplay him though, because this is a different level of quality stepping up to the MLS level. But just seeing him physically, that's the thing for me that is so frustrating. I mentioned at the top of Kubo Torres. It's like, what's the point of putting on a player who doesn't just he can't really move around the field that well. And it's just like really frustrating to watch, especially as a sub coming in. It's like you figure that's the one advantage they have is coming on and being able to use their physicality against players who have been out there for 70 minutes. So that's the kind of frustrating thing to me. And I think that there are some opportunities possibly that we as the new managers of this team could do to improve.
That's a micro move.
It is a micro move.
Let's think macro here. Let's think macro. And I will put this out there. I'm just going to gently toss this out in the world as I kind of have before. Is the writing on the wall with Zeke and this team? And do you cut your losses in the summer and open up a DP spot at any possible cost?
Oh yeah. If we're fast forwarding to the transfer window, then I absolutely say that this team can and probably should think about making moves mid-season with some of these big players, Ezequiel Barco obviously being one of them, to try to get the pieces to fit a little bit better than they do right now. It's like clearly what we've been talking about so far in the show and what everybody has seen is that there just basically are no really dynamic wingers on this team that are going to affect the game in a big way. And I think that you'd probably be better off in the long term, swapping out. I'm just like swapping out as a player like Ezequiel Barco for a player that's going to be more dynamic on the wing and actually be a little bit more direct and give you that more chance creation instead of being a Barco type who's a playmaker. And you already have other kinds of playmakers like that with Emerson Hyman and Santiago Sosa who want to kind of be that kind of player. I just feel like this team needs somebody who's more direct and can actually go at goal more. So yeah, I'm totally in agreement with that. And it can come off, it can be, spun as be like, like Barco sucks, he should get out of here. Like, that's not necessarily what I think, but it's just a matter of trying to make all the pieces fit in a way so that every player can be at their best.
Yeah, I kind of jumped and answered Jacob's question already. I didn't mean to really do. I thought I was asking my own question. Jacob already had this question from the Discord. He said there's admittedly a lot to be hopeful about this team, but without impactful wingers, I feel our ceiling is underwhelming, just above average. Will we realistically make some moves this summer? And if not, what can we do to create the dudes? But no, I think this is a team last year that saw the writing on the wall with Frank and made the move. Right. And
Yeah.
we applauded them for that.
Yep.
That was bold. It was the correct decision. You couldn't just sit there and keep floundering. This is not a club or a team that wants to keep floundering, of course, especially as fans come back into the stadium. You want that gate revenue. You want all that. And to do that, you have to have a team that gets the city excited to a point where you're not just bringing in the diehards that you have created. You have to bring in the casuals as well. And knowing that, moves are going to come if this doesn't change, because the answer feels pretty clear right now. Agreed?
Yeah, I agree. And I think, again, I'll reiterate, I think this team is better than they were last year. This team is a good team, but it can be a better team. And we're saying all of this in context of making Atlanta United as a team that is the best team in MLS. So we're kind of picking at this with a fine-tooth comb here.
For sure. But that should be the goal.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
The standard. That's that's the resources you have. That's everything kind of coming together. That should be the goal. Bad Time Bob asked, what kind of therapist do I need to see about Hindsight giving a meaningless Cubo a look over a promising Conway and a meaningless game? And Joe, you kind of
we already sorry, we're jumping the gun on these questions.
We are. But y'all, a lot of the sentiments were the same. I think it's not just us. It's not like the media has some vendetta or anything like that. It's just what everyone else is seeing. All these questions were pretty much the same. Michael Head asked, when do we get worried that the 21 season becomes 2020? It will not.
Yeah,
it won't. Like you said, Joe, we're nitpicking a little bit here. It has objectively gotten better.
Yeah, and I don't really know what to say other, like, if you're feeling that way, I don't really know what to say that could, like, calm you down. But like just the play, like it to me, it's just a more attractive game to watch, even in a game where you don't create a ton of chances. I don't know what they had last night. I think it was around 0.5, which is similar to what they were creating through much of 2020. But it's still just a more enjoyable product to watch. Like, we want to see it better, but it's clearly just more enjoyable. I enjoy watching this team play, even though the results and the goals aren't necessarily coming right now. It's still interesting play. And so I don't really have any fear that that's going to happen whatsoever. In fact, this is probably the worst this team is going to look under Heinze. Like, they'll just continue to get better and better, I would think. So I don't have any fears of that.
You would certainly hope. I think injuries may be a little bit of concern now with what Zeke and Dom are going through, because they do,
sure,
to some extent, make the team better, right? They don't make the team necessarily great, but they do make them better. So I hope that doesn't become too big of a hindrance. Jason Knackers asked, should we be worried that we still don't have any good attacking players besides a healthy Joseph? Yes, because I'm getting kind of worried that we still don't actually have any attacking good players besides a healthy Joseph. Yes.
Yeah.
Philip Jeffcoat asked, what do you think about the midfield options? Atlanta hasn't really seemed the same since we lost Mickey and Gressel. Gressel's a threat on the wing, Miguel a threat in the middle. Right now, I honestly can't say who is a threat up the wing or the middle. You kind of mentioned Emerson and Santiago as chance creators, which I think is interesting. Can you kind of maybe elaborate a little bit more on that? Because I don't think they are in people's minds the traditional chance creators you have in your head of like a number 10, right?
They're playmakers. They're players who want to receive the ball at their feet and play with the ball. Not necessarily chance creators in terms of, like, I think of a playmaker as someone who wants to actually receive the ball a bit deeper at their feet and try to pick passes and things like that, as to where a chance creator is a guy who's driving into the box, setting up a final ball for a Joseph at the far post or something like that. So I think they're more playmakers, and this team could use more of those chance creator type of players. Like Gressel was one who was like wanted to get forward, was a not a pacey player, but still direct in like his own weird kind of way that was very effective, and I'm not sure how. But like, this team could use players like that. And honestly, right now that wing play is coming from the fullbacks. Like those are the wide players in this system. I'm fine with this midfield right now. Like when you look at Sosa and Heineman, I think that they're working well together. And I think that's one of the strengths of this team right now is the way that they're able to play through those players in the buildup. But they really need those guys in the final third, not those guys as in those two players, but other players to be able to make all that good play that happens in the middle of the field turn into something positive for the team in general.
You mentioned the fullbacks as kind of being the guys getting forward and everything like that right now. I want to talk about George real quick. And real quick. We don't have any questions about this, but it's something that just popped in my mind. He is doing advanced level things tactically, I feel like, right? Like he is not just playing the traditional foot position. He's not just overlapping and banging it across and everything like that. He's doing a lot of things different. How have you felt about his ability on the ball in those scenarios? Because right now it kind of seems like sometimes he gets himself into good positions, but when he's on the ball, sometimes it seems to be lacking. However, my kind of counter to anyone that might be worried about that is I think the potential benefits of taking that risk and allowing him that responsibility at this age when the talent is there is worth it.
Yeah, for sure. I think Bello started the season a little bit rough, but he's continued to get better and better as it's gone on. I think that there are, again, I don't know if it's a confidence issue, but I know that, I was reading from people on Twitter saying that they wanted to see the team hit the ball in from the wings like more quickly. And I think Felipe said that the mics were picking up Heinze saying, play the ball in first time, play the ball in first time. I think that there's a couple of things playing into that. First of all, it's like when you spend a ton of energy getting up and down the field, when you get up the field, you don't want to just like whap in across, knowing that like the likely chance of success is low there. But I also think that there is some kind of confidence. Like George doesn't seem to be the type of player who wants to drive forward on the ball. Like he's very confident making runs off the ball, getting into those central positions. We've seen him several times already pop up in the box with players playing him in on those underlapping runs. But he just doesn't seem like the same when he's actually on the ball in those wide areas, wanting to really drive forward. He's much more willing to kind of pull it back and continue to recycle possession.
I want everyone to know.
What have you thought about George?
Well, I just want to note first that you did say whapping a ball, not whopping a ball. There's a big difference there.
Oh boy.
My thoughts about George, don't believe that. My thoughts about George are, kind of already said it. Like I said, I think you're onto something with the confidence there. I think everyone's just hesitant right now, and I don't know if that comes with time or if it comes with new players, right? But overall, again, I continue to think the back line and the spine have been the most encouraging things about all of this, right? It's a nice car with no steering wheel right now, right?
Yeah,
like they have all the kind of pieces, but they can't make the turns and they can't, maneuver when they need to and everything like that. All they can really do is kind of hit the gas and go forward, and until they kind of get the pieces that let them maneuver, they're just going to keep running into walls. Even if, like, for the first stretch, they're kind of doing a good job, eventually turns are going to go.
I'll say another thing too, which is that first of all, I wouldn't say that like you shouldn't be relying on your fullbacks for like to create a lot of your chances. Like that should be kind of a secondary option. And I think that if this team was creating more through its primary attacking players, like the Marcelino Morenos and whatever wingers you have out there, if they were creating more, you would see actually more opportunities for those fullbacks in those wide areas. So I think that a lot of this kind of compounds on itself when it's not working properly. It's harder for everybody. And hopefully once things do start to flow and once a guy like Eric Lopez midseason is the talk of the town in MLS and everybody's afraid of him, that's when to open up more space for George Bello or Brooks Lennon. And I would say, just to quickly note on Brooks Lennon, I think that he's once again, I keep on giving him sevens in the player ratings because he just I don't see him like doing anything wrong. And in fact, he's like he shows these bright moments, but again, it's just unfortunate that none of this is really producing goals.
Yeah, I think eventually that, the sevens will turn into eights and nines, hopefully, right? And hopefully, Joe Patrick, you're ready to put in an 8 and 9 level effort for this. This is rapid fire. Alex Bragg asked, on a scale from McLovin to Dwayne The Rock Johnson, how fit is Joseph?
Sam Jones.
That's pretty damn fit. At ATLETD 24/7 asked, do you agree with Jim Curtin, spelled like the curtain, like a thing you put over your window? That's funny to me. Anyway, do you agree with Jim Curtin that Gabriel Heinze is an asshole? We didn't really get to talk about this, but like maybe a little, and that's
Yeah,
okay.
I was gonna say kind of. Yeah.
Like I'm totally cool with that, y'all.
Yeah, I know,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, no, totally fine. Ryan has based solely on names, which is better, Joseph Martinez or Jose Martinez? This is important. Please answer correctly.
Joseph. I gotta go. I gotta roll with my own name, Joseph.
An extra letter and an extra like consonants to it. It kind of works out
The
nicely.
F is a great twist on Joseph.
Exactly. Let's see. Matt asked, how good would this offense be if we had Tito and PT instead of Dom and Moreno? Better, worse, or same? I think it'd be better. I think we'd still be bitching. Right?
I think all you need is Tito, and it'd be way better. Like it'd just be he's like the perfect player that needs to be inserted into this team. But unfortunately, that's unlikely to happen.
I think we'd be complaining still. That's my thought. I think it would be better. Yeah. Exactly. Logan asked, how does Santiago Sosa even? I think it's the hair. I think it's the hair. To be honest, that's my theory. Yeah. Jake.
Yep.
Yeah. Jake asked, where's the GoFundMe or petition to sign to buy real wingers? It's on GoFundMe. Duh. Sosa's corked calves ask, why was the full boot to the back of Joseph's head not considered dangerous play and a red card? It's because it wasn't his face, right? Like you gotta like maybe give permanent damage to like the aesthetics of it all, but you gotta make it really, really count. That's my
I was surprised there wasn't a card there, but
it should have been a red. But these things happen.
I'm fine with I mean, I'm all about just let the referee administer the game the way he does it, and then we can all bitch about the referee afterwards. So
wonderful. Ryan McManus asked, any revised predictions for Moreno, Joseph, or Elo this year? Moreno, definitely.
Moreno, yeah, he would be the one.
Moreno's the one that we're concerned about most. I don't know if we really had any predictions for him other than to just be effective and good. But right now, I'm wondering when that's going to happen. We'll see. We'll see. Ryan asked, better fashion accessory, Tata's iconic cape or Curtin's hoodie that he stole from my 11th grade neighbor. Y'all, look, Curtin, maybe not dressing his age, but dressing well. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know. You got to take into account the shoes. He looks good, man. He looks good. That's check
my timeline, because I retweeted on. You probably did too. Chris Waukee, when this was going around, I got it from the Discord. Hilarious. Lip reading Jim Curtin.
Beautiful.
So we all know how Jim Curtin feels like about that question.
Matt asked, how good of this? Wait, we already did that. Joe Patrick asked, why didn't they score 3 goals?
Why couldn't they just win?
Seems easy enough. Next time, try muscle confusion. That was rapid fire. Joe, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No final thoughts, but check out, we're about to talk to him, Doug Roberson. We're going to chat with him. So if you're a patron, you can sign up at patreon.com/5stripe-final, listen to our conversation with Doug and all the conversations we've had in the past. So I would say it's definitely worth it.
All right. Feel free to get at us at any time at 5stripe-final, at J_Sam Jones, at JPatrick200 on Twitter. And of course, check out everything on Dirty South Soccer as well. Shout out Lucid. Lucid's good. I like Lucid. And yeah, I think that'll do it. We'll be back to complain sometime next week. Bye all.